Hello, 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 and welcome to Walk, Talk, Health. The channel name suggests you and I are going to take an amazing walk today and talk health. Our bodies are designed to heal and repair, but we just need to help them. Each one of these walk and talks is designed to do exactly that. We're going to discuss a specific topic that can have a significant improvement in your health. And if you combine the topics we discuss over a series of these walks and talks, it can have a huge effect on your health, your well-being, longevity, and you really can live longer, healthier. So where are we today? We're at Ring Mountain in Marin County. This is an amazing trail. It raises 684 feet. It's only 2.3 miles long. That means the elevation climb is actually quite steep, as you're about to find out. So you might find a little bit of huffing and puffing as we do this walk and talk. Today we're going to discuss shock proteins, heat shock proteins and cold shock proteins. So what are they? To explain that, we have to step back and actually talk about proteins generally. In our body, you and I have between 20 and 30,000 unique proteins. Those proteins, either on their own or in combination, affect every single process within the body, from healing, repair, to our immune system, our brain health. So they're crucial and vital. In fact, without them, we couldn't survive. These proteins get damaged from things like environmental toxins, things that we consume, stressors on the body from both mental, physical, anxiety, and they start to unfold. Each of these proteins have a specific shape, and they're folded by instructions from the DNA into those specific shapes. What the shock proteins do is, once we release them, and we're discussing this walk and talk exactly how we do that, they bind themselves to damaged proteins and help them reshape, help them refold back into the correct shape. So they're vitally important for overall health and longevity. So the start of this trail is quite flat. And it's actually a wildflower reserve. Here are some of the wild flowers. So where do we get these shock proteins from? Let's start with heat proteins. The easiest and cheapest one is to get in a bath. You need to increase the temperature to 104 degrees and you need to stay in it for about 20 minutes, trying to maintain that 104 degrees temperature. And you need to do that roughly 3 times a week. You can look at things like a regular sauna, in which case you want to get the temperature set to about 170 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, you want to stay in it for about 20 minutes and do that 3 times a week. If you have access to an infrared sauna, they don't typically get as hot. So set it to its maximum, around about 135, 140, and just stay in it for longer, 35 to 40 minutes, and again, 3 times a week. And finally, we've mentioned it, exercise. Intensive exercise will raise the body temperature considerably and again generate those heat shock proteins. As for cold shock proteins, again, there are a number of ways of doing it. The easiest way and cheapest way is to take a cold shower after a hot shower. I know it sounds horrible, but it's the way you do it that matters in terms of easing into it. After you've had your regular shower, slowly decrease the temperature of the water until it's just cold coming out. And at that point, just do 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And then gradually over a number of days and weeks, take that 10 seconds to 30 seconds to 60 seconds. And ideally you want to get to 2 minutes under that cold water in the shower. I'm just going to stop for a minute and show you this incredible tree. Wow, just look at that, beautiful. The next option would be to buy one of these barrels that you fill with water and then put in ice cubes. And you can do this with your bath. You can do the same thing, put in cold water, add the ice cubes, get it down to around about 50 degrees and spend approximately 2 to 3 minutes in that cold. And again, you want to do that 3 times a week. Finally, there's the more sophisticated ice baths. These things are fully automated. They have pumps, they have chilling devices attached to them. They have filters to take out the bacteria, etc. when you're getting in and out of the ice bath. But obviously these things cost quite a bit more. And I guess actually one more thing I thought about is if you live in a cold climate in the winter, especially in the northern hemisphere, simply going outside for 15 to 20 minutes, not when it's severely cold, clearly, can generate those cold shock proteins. In fact, in places like Sweden and Scandinavian countries, they will quite often go into the sauna, heat themselves up, do that 20 minutes in the sauna, and then run outside and literally roll in the snow. Crazy people. So we've covered how important these shock proteins are, whether it be heat or cold, in terms of them binding to damaged proteins and helping them refold into the correct shape so they can carry out their function. But there are other advantages of exposure to heat and cold. Let's take heat to start. The advantage of heat is it actually mimics, in terms of the way your body responds, the same benefits you receive from moderate exercise. By moderate exercise, we're talking about fast walking, that kind of thing. Nothing too strenuous, but certainly not casual exercise. During the process of heat, it raises the heart rate, it raises the blood pressure, but all in a positive way, strengthening the heart muscles, improving circulation. Let's look at cold exposure. I know what you're thinking, no one likes to get cold, but in addition to the cold shock proteins that do the same repair process and help the proteins in our body take up the correct, unique shape, what else does cold exposure do for us? Well, the answer is, quite frankly, unbelievably, a lot. Let's look at some of those. The first thing it does is it enhances our immune system. It does this by increasing the 4 main types of immune cells or responses that we rely on for our health. It does this by increasing the number of monocytes, lymphocytes, T helper cells and T suppressor cells in our body. These 4 cell types make up the majority of our total immune system, and therefore increasing the number of these in our body through cold exposure has to be a good thing. Cold exposure promotes the production of noradrenaline and also dopamine. These 2 hormones are important for things like improved mood. They reduce the chances of us getting depression, but they also help us with our alertness and our focus and concentration. In fact, cold exposure can increase dopamine production by up to 2.5 times normal. Cold therapy actually promotes weight loss. You go, really? Getting cold, I can lose weight? Well, how does that work? In several ways. The first thing is it promotes the production of new brown fat cells. In our body we have brown fat cells and white fat cells, and it also stimulates the existing brown fat cells that we have. These brown fat cells are responsible for raising our body temperature. So once we're exposed to cold, the brown fat cells try to burn energy, and in the process they increase our metabolic rate. In fact, just 100 grams of brown fat cells can burn up to 3,400 calories in a day. Cold exposure also increases our insulin sensitivity. So why is that important? Well, insulin, as we know, is inflammatory. It's what our body produces when blood sugar levels get too high and the risk of clotting occurs. The body produces insulin to take that glucose out of the blood and store it inside the muscles and other internal organs, and then ultimately in fat supplies once they're full. So we obviously want to minimize the number of times we get insulin spikes, and so cold exposure, increasing our sensitivity to insulin, is a good thing. The more times we get an insulin spike from the production and release of that insulin, our body starts to become used to it, and we develop insulin resistance. The body then has to produce more and more insulin to try and get the glucose out of the blood, and eventually the body stops responding to insulin and we end up with type 2 diabetes. Looks like we're coming to some more incredible steps. Yep, let's go up here and see what's above them. So less insulin spikes equals less inflammation equals less illness. As we've covered over multiple of these videos, inflammation pretty much causes all the major diseases that we face in today's modern society. The views just keep getting better and better the higher you climb. Wow. A major benefit of cold exposure is boosting antioxidants. So we consume oxygen. Obviously we need that to combine with nutrients and chemicals in our body to produce energy in the mitochondria. I did a video on that I urge you to look into. The mitochondria are literally the powerhouse of the body. But in the process of releasing that engine, we get something called as oxidative stress. Damage gets caused to the cells in and around where that energy is released. So having cold exposure reduce or have an antioxidant effect is amazing. A big one for me is that it improves longevity, living longer and in a healthy way. It does that by stimulating autophagy. And again, I did a video on autophagy. Briefly, the body, if you starve it of nutrients for a period of time, it starts to go around looking for things to consume to provide energy, and in the process it looks at dead cells, senescent cells, cancer cells, etc., and it consumes them because they're all forms of protein. It also lowers cortisol production. Cortisol is the stress hormone our body produces when we're stressed, from either mental stress, physical stress, and again that can do damage and cause inflammation within the body. So that's pretty cool too, right? Okay, it's that time we're asked for a big favour. This channel is in no way monetized. Its sole purpose is to help other people on their journey to live longer, healthier. If I could ask you to like, subscribe, and very importantly comment, ask a question, tell me whereabouts in the world you're viewing from, maybe a favourite walking trail that you have. That will help the algorithm push this out to more people and achieve my goal of trying to help people live longer, healthier. There are just these enormous boulders. You know, you get these incredible views, and then all the way up the trail there are some enormous boulders. When we get to the top, you'll see an enormous boulder, and you'll see what I mean. As with all of these walk and talks, I would recommend you consult with your doctor before changing something habitual or taking a new supplement. In the case of cold exposure, for example, if you have a heart condition, going from a warm climate into something 50 degrees or cooler could have an effect. So maybe discuss with your doctor before trying it. And last but not least, and I'm sure there's many other benefits, the one I'm going to cover today is it's good for muscle repair, muscle support after exercise. Quite a few of our top athletes jump into ice baths after a workout or a game of some description, because it actually helps the muscles repair and recover way faster than not doing that. So we're getting towards the top of Ring Mountain, and wow, just look at this. That's beautiful. Well worth the climb. 684 feet up approximately 1.1 mile with 1.1 mile an hour to go. And as you can see in the distance is San Francisco. Let's go climb that rock. Awesome. Oh man, and the views get even better from up here. I'm going to go up to the top of this hill now and see if we can get you a better view of the San Francisco skyline, the Bay Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge. Bear with me. Wow, that was a bit of a hike, but well worth it. Again, San Francisco skyline, the distance. Okay, let's recap. So we know the body produces these shock proteins, either from exposure to heat, we can also get it from exercise, extreme exercise, and from cold exposure. We know that these shock proteins are vital in terms of the repair of the 20 to 30,000 unique proteins that are within our body that carry out every important vital body function that we have. We know that if we look at heat exposure, it's the equivalent to moderate exercise, fast walking for example. We know that it in effect raises the heart rate, it increases blood pressure, but in a good way. It improves circulation, it basically increases the metabolic rate, and generally all the benefits you'd expect to get from exercise you can get from heat exposure. If we look at cold exposure, we're looking at a much bigger list. We know that it improves our immune system enormously by increasing the number of those 4 important cells that make up our immune system. We know it improves our mood and reduces the likelihood of depression. It increases our focus and our ability to be alert, and it does this through the increased production of noradrenaline and dopamine. We know amazingly it can help with weight loss. It does this by firstly stimulating existing brown fat cells and creating new brown fat cells. These brown fat cells burn far more calories than regular white cells, and they're used to actually release energy to warm the body up in reaction to that cold. As a result of that increased metabolic rate, it actually increases the energy levels within our body. We also know that it improves insulin sensitivity, very important in regards to type 2 diabetes, and as a result of those fewer insulin spikes, we get reduced inflammation throughout the body, and we know that inflammation causes disease. This reduction in inflammation is also very important for the brain health. It has neuroprotective effects because of this reduced inflammation. So that cold exposure also improves antioxidants, which fight the oxidation that our body processes and sun damage and other toxins can cause. We know that it reduces cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and we know that stress causes, again, inflammation and damage. We know that it promotes longevity, living longer, healthier, and autophagy, that all-important process where the body self-eats and goes around hoovering up dead and senescent and dangerous cells. And finally, it's very good for overall repair after you've exercised. I hope you've enjoyed this walk and talk and you've got some benefit from it. If nothing else, I hope I've convinced you to start looking at cold and hot therapy and the benefits that that has, how such a simple and pretty much cost-effective process can have such profound benefits to our body and help us live longer, healthier. Join me next time where we're going to discuss a simple compound called creatine. Creatine is known for building muscles, which is very important as we get old, as it will become clear in the next video. But it also is very, very important for cognitive and memory and the fight against dementia and Alzheimer's. I think you're going to enjoy it. Look forward to seeing you next time. I've mentioned a couple of times during this walk the subject of autophagy. If you want to know more about it, please check out this video. It's the very first video I did and channel introduction. I've learned quite a bit and how to do these walk and talks since, so please be kind in terms of how I actually managed that one. But nonetheless, it has some very important information in it which I know you're going to benefit from.